I don't live my life with regrets, and I don't dwell on anything. I feel like it happened. It must have happened for a reason. I hope that I'm not here today.
Bruno Mars has long been the man behind the magic, an electrifying performer whose voice, stage presence, and timeless hits have captured hearts around the globe, yet whose personal life remains mostly hidden behind a velvet curtain of mystery. While the world knows him as the suave, hit-making showman behind chart-toppers like Uptown Funk and Leave the Door Open, Bruno has always drawn a firm line between his public artistry and private reality. However, at 39, Bruno Mars has finally confessed to the rumors about his life behind the curtains of stardom. Let's unveil the whole truth today. Bruno Mars, born Peter Gene Hernandez on October 8, 1985, in the vibrant city of Honolulu, Hawaii, was surrounded by music from the moment he opened his eyes. His upbringing was far from ordinary. As one of 6 children in a multicultural household, with his father, Peter Hernandez, being Puerto Rican and of Ashkenazi Jewish descent, and his mother, Bernadette San Pedro Bayo, hailing from the Philippines with Spanish roots, Bruno was steeped in an eclectic blend of musical influences and traditions. His parents were deeply involved in music themselves. Peter was a percussionist who played Latin rhythms, while Bernadette was a talented hula dancer and singer. The couple performed together in a family band called the Love Notes, which became Bruno's earliest and most intimate exposure to live performance. From as young as 2 years old, he was affectionately dubbed Bruno by his father, inspired by the chubby wrestler Bruno Sammartino. The nickname stuck. Today, it's part of the identity he has crafted to reach global superstardom. At just 4 years old, Bruno began performing Elvis Presley impersonations with the Love Notes, drawing public attention not only for his remarkable mimicry but also for his remarkable confidence and stage presence at such a young age. His performances were a local sensation in Honolulu, where he quickly became a standout act, especially during family shows at venues like the Waikiki Beach Marriott and the Hilton Hawaiian Village. The media also caught wind of the young prodigy. In 1992, Bruno made a brief but memorable appearance in the Hollywood film Honeymoon in Vegas, starring Nicolas Cage and Sarah Jessica Parker. He played a mini Elvis impersonator, essentially playing himself, and stole scenes with his charm and uncanny likeness to the king of rock and roll. This moment marked the beginning of his relationship with the entertainment industry, although the real challenges lay ahead. As Bruno grew older, he broadened his musical horizons beyond Elvis. He began studying the moves and vocal stylings of Michael Jackson, a shift that not only expanded his repertoire but deepened his connection to performance as an art form. Bruno also became a multi-instrumentalist at a young age, learning to play the piano, drums, bass, and guitar, often teaching himself by ear. When he was 12 years old, Bruno's parents separated, which plunged the once semi-stable family into financial turmoil. Bruno, along with some of his siblings and father, faced extreme instability. At one point, they were living in conditions so dire they had to stay in parts of the Honolulu Zoo, where Peter Hernandez had previously worked. Despite these hardships, Bruno never stopped performing. In high school, he joined a band called the Schoolboys, which gave him further experience in front of live audiences. The group played local gigs, and Bruno continued honing his skills, now integrating various genres such as reggae, R&B, rock, and pop, elements that would later define his distinctive sound. By the time he graduated from President Theodore Roosevelt High School in Honolulu, Bruno had already set his sights on something bigger. At 17, he made the life-altering decision to move to Los Angeles, California, to chase his dream of becoming a professional musician. However, here, Bruno had to contend with ethnic stereotyping. With the last name Hernandez, he was often pigeonholed by music industry executives who encouraged him to pursue Latin music, regardless of his actual musical inclinations or his genre-blending artistry. Frustrated but undeterred, he made a pivotal decision. He adopted the stage name Bruno Mars. The name not only helped mask any ethnic assumptions but also projected the cosmic ambition he felt, Mars implying a sound that was out of this world, a defiance of being boxed into any one category. Great things were about to happen. Even with the new name and an undying work ethic, the early years in Los Angeles were anything but easy. Bruno's first major opportunity came in the form of a contract with Motown Records, a label legendary for launching stars but often tough on newcomers. The deal, however, quickly soured. He was dropped before any significant progress could be made, a dispiriting setback for someone who had sacrificed so much to be there. Shortly after, he entered into a development deal with will.i.am, the frontman of the Black Eyed Peas, hoping for better results. Yet that partnership also failed to yield any breakthrough. Bruno was left in limbo, writing songs that no one seemed ready to hear, and performing for little or no money in local venues while continuing to shop his demos. Still, these frustrations served a purpose. During this period, Bruno focused heavily on songwriting and production, forming a close-knit team with fellow musicians Philip Lawrence and Ari Levine. Together, they created the production group The Smeezingtons. This trio would eventually pen hits not just for Bruno but for other artists as well. The team's first taste of major success came with Flo Rida's chart-topping single Right Round, released in early 2009. Co-written by the Smeezingtons, alongside Dr. Luke and others, the track interpolated Dead or Alive's 1985 hit You Spin Me Round Like a Record and became a massive commercial success. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and shattered digital sales records, selling over 636,000 downloads in its first week, a new US record at the time. Although Bruno did not perform on the track, his contribution as a co-writer gave him his first significant industry credit and financial return. More importantly, it positioned the Smeezingtons as credible hitmakers, opening doors for collaborations with both established and up-and-coming artists. Building on that momentum, the team continued to land placements. One of their follow-up successes was Get Sexy by British girl group Sugababes, released in August 2009. The song, co-written and co-produced by Bruno and his team, combined electronic pop and hip-hop influences and peaked at number 2 on the UK singles chart. Though Bruno remained largely behind the scenes, his presence was becoming more and more felt across international pop charts. At the same time, he was quietly preparing for his own debut, not as a ghostwriter, but as a frontman. That opportunity finally arrived in late 2009, when Atlantic Records paired Bruno with rapper B.O.B. Bobby Ray Simmons Jr. for the single Nothin' on You. Bruno had co-written the song with Philip Lawrence and Ari Levine, and while the original demo featured his full vocals, Atlantic initially envisioned it for another singer. However, when B.O.B. heard the demo, he insisted on keeping Bruno's vocals for the chorus. Released in December 2009, Nothin' on You was a breakout success. It hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in April 2010 and topped the charts in the UK and several other countries. Bruno's smooth, emotive delivery on the chorus, Beautiful Girls All Over the World, introduced millions to his voice, turning a songwriter into a star almost overnight. The success of Nothin' on You was quickly followed by another hit, Billionaire, a collaboration with Gym Class Heroes frontman Travie McCoy. Once again, Bruno and his team co-wrote and produced the track, and Bruno sang the memorable chorus with his signature blend of soul and pop charm, I Wanna Be a Billionaire So Frickin' Bad. Released in March 2010, the song climbed to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 and charted highly in Australia, the UK, and several other territories. Its reggae pop vibe and playful lyrics resonated with a wide audience, and Bruno's role in the song helped solidify him as more than a one-hit feature artist. These early successes dramatically altered Bruno Mars's trajectory. The Smeezingtons weren't just writing for other people anymore, they were building a signature sound that the world would soon associate with Bruno himself. Industry insiders took notice, and Atlantic Records quickly moved to develop Bruno as a solo artist, impressed by both his vocal talent and songwriting prowess. Within months, he would be preparing to release his debut EP, It's Better If You Don't Understand, and working on his first full-length album, Doo-Wops and Hooligans. Yet even as his own career began to take off, Bruno didn't abandon his role behind the scenes. The Smeezingtons continued to work with artists like Kanon, Sean Kingston, and CeeLo Green. In fact, Bruno co-wrote and co-produced the smash hit Forget You for CeeLo in 2010, a song that would go on to become one of the most acclaimed singles of the year. Bruno Mars had arrived, not by accident, but by way of resilience and craft. On October 4, 2010, Bruno Mars released his debut studio album Doo-Wops and Hooligans through Elektra Records, marking a defining moment in his career. The album was preceded by the lead single Just the Way You Are, released in July of that year. With its warm piano melody and romantic lyrics, the track resonated instantly with a wide audience and climbed to the top of the Billboard Hot 100, where it remained for 4 consecutive weeks. The song also earned him his first Grammy Award for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance in 2011. Doo-Wops and Hooligans struck a unique chord in the pop music scene. Its blend of doo-wop influences, breezy acoustic pop, R&B grooves, and heartfelt balladry stood in contrast to the heavily electronic, auto-tune productions dominating charts at the time. The second single, Grenade, released in September 2010, cemented his rising star status. The dramatic anthem, with its intense lyrics about unrequited love and emotional sacrifice, reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and topped the charts in over a dozen countries, including the UK and Canada. Other standout tracks included The Lazy Song, which offered a humorous and laid-back counterpoint, and Marry You, which became a wedding favorite worldwide. Commercially, the album was a juggernaut. It peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 6 million copies worldwide. Building on the momentum of his debut, Mars released his second studio album, Unorthodox Jukebox, on December 7, 2012. This album represented both a sonic and thematic evolution. Where doo-wops and hooligans had leaned into innocence and romanticism, Unorthodox Jukebox explored a wider emotional palette: lust, temptation, heartbreak, and defiance through a bolder, more eclectic sound. It was produced by a high-profile roster that included Mark Ronson, Diplo, Jeff Bhasker, and the returning Smeezingtons. The lead single, Locked Out of Heaven, released in October 2012, was an instant smash. With its police-inspired rock groove, the track showcased Bruno's ability to blur genre lines, debuting at number 34 on the Billboard Hot 100 and eventually climbing to number 1. The album spawned other massive hits, including When I Was Your Man, a piano ballad reminiscent of vintage soul heartbreakers that once again hit number 1 on the Billboard charts. Treasure and Gorilla further displayed his chameleonic ability to jump from funk to rock-infused soul to provocative pop without losing authenticity. Unorthodox Jukebox debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200 and climbed to number 1 in its second week. It earned Bruno the Grammy for Best Pop Vocal Album in 2014 and sold more than 6 million copies globally, reinforcing his place among the top echelon of pop artists of the 2010s. Perhaps the most visible affirmation of Bruno Mars's superstar status came on February 2, 2014, when he headlined the Super Bowl 48 halftime show at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Viewed by more than 115 million people in the United States alone, it was one of the most watched halftime shows in history at the time. Bruno opened the performance with a drum solo, an often overlooked part of his skill set, before transitioning into energetic renditions of his biggest hits. He was joined mid-show by the Red Hot Chili Peppers for a high-octane version of Give It Away, bridging rock and funk in true Mars fashion. Critics praised the performance's balance of showmanship, musicianship, and genuine energy. Unlike many halftime acts that rely on elaborate visual effects and pyrotechnics, Mars commanded the stage with charisma and raw talent, signaling that he had fully arrived as a performer of global stature. In the years that followed, Bruno Mars took a brief step back from the spotlight, using the time to craft what would become one of his most defining bodies of work, 24K Magic. Released on November 18, 2016, the album marked a deliberate return to the sounds of the late 80s and early 90s, specifically new jack swing, funk, and R&B, with a lavish, confident aesthetic. Co-produced with Shampoo Press and Curl, a rebrand of the Smeezingtons after Ari Levine's departure, 24K Magic was a reassertion of style, musicianship, and cultural relevance. The title track, 24K Magic, dropped as the lead single in October 2016 and immediately set the tone with its talkbox intro, synthesized basslines, and unapologetic swagger. It peaked at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became a fixture at parties, sports events, and award shows. The album's second single, That's What I Like, was an even bigger success. Blending trap-inspired beats with smooth R&B vocals and a witty lyricism centered on luxury and love, the song reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in May 2017. It also earned Bruno 6 Grammy Awards in 2018, including Record of the Year, Song of the Year, and Best R&B Song. Other standout tracks on the album included Finesse, which received a retro 90s remix featuring rapper Cardi B in 2018. The remix's music video, inspired by the television show In Living Color, went viral. Critically, 24K Magic was lauded for its cohesion and throwback authenticity. It became one of the best-selling albums of 2017 and earned Bruno Mars the Grammy for Album of the Year. By the end of the 2010s, Bruno Mars had become one of the defining artists of 21st-century pop music. But there was more to come. Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak first crossed paths in 2017 while on Bruno's 24K Magic World Tour, where .Paak served as a supporting act. Their backstage chats, mutual admiration for each other's craft, and impromptu jam sessions began to spark the idea of a deeper creative partnership. Over the following years, their intermittent recording sessions, often conducted in casual studio environments, nurtured this spark into something more substantial. In February 2021, the duo officially unveiled their alias, Silk Sonic, named by funk legend Bootsy Collins, who himself lent his voice to the project's intro. Their vision was clear: to craft a sound that honored the lush soul and funk of the 1970s while resonating with 21st-century listeners. Bootsy's involvement offered both symbolic and practical gravitas, connecting them directly to the era they revered. Their debut single, Leave the Door Open, dropped on March 5, 2021. Critics and fans alike praised its smooth slow jam, charm, breathy harmonies, and elegant instrumentation, such as strings, piano, glockenspiel, and laid-back drums, that perfectly captured Philadelphia soul's emotive depth. The lyrics, warm, flirtatious, and humorous, spoke of moonlit promises and cozy mansion nights, illustrating the duo's shared whimsy and earnestness. Publications like The Guardian called it pitch-perfect vintage R&B, while Vulture noted how seamlessly it threaded nostalgia with contemporary sensibility. Social media buzz and fan reactions, including from platforms like Reddit, heralded the track as a modern classic reborn in soul's grand tradition. An Evening with Silk Sonic, the full album, was released on November 12, 2021, expanding on the success of its first single. The project used period-accurate production techniques, such as specific drum skins, guitar picks, and live band arrangements recorded in shared rooms, to authentically replicate 70s studio warmth. It featured contributions from Babyface, her producer Dmile, Thundercat, and others, all gathered to preserve and modernize vintage soul storytelling. The album's artistry and execution resonated deeply. At the 64th Annual Grammy Awards in April 2022, Silk Sonic won a stunning 4 awards for Leave the Door Open, Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best R&B Performance, and Best R&B Song, a clean sweep of every category for which they were nominated. Their dynamic live performance of 777 opened the ceremony. In an unexpected move in October 2022, Bruno Mars announced that Silk Sonic would not submit An Evening with Silk Sonic for 2023 Grammy consideration. He explained that, having already achieved profound artistic fulfillment and global acclaim with Leave the Door Open and 4 Grammys, the duo preferred to gracefully, humbly, and most importantly, sexually, bow out of further contention. This decision was widely interpreted as a deliberate statement. Silk Sonic could walk away on their own terms, placing artistry above accolades, and freeing the field for other major albums by the likes of Beyoncé, Adele, and Kendrick Lamar. Beyond awards, Silk Sonic's success sparked a resurgence of interest in retro-themed R&B and soul across the industry. Contemporary artists have since explored lush arrangements, analog instrumentation, and vintage aesthetics in their own work. The album proved multi-generational in reach, resonant with older fans who grew up on acts like the O'Jays or Earth, Wind and Fire, and younger audiences discovering the vintage groove anew. Though both Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak have resumed solo endeavors, the legacy of Silk Sonic continues to reverberate. Fans and critics alike hope for future reunions of the duo, whose synergy and unabashed love for a bygone era created a career-defining moment. Unlike many modern celebrities who treat social media like a personal diary, Bruno Mars keeps his digital footprint minimal and music-focused. His Instagram and Twitter accounts are reserved for tour announcements, award acceptance moments, behind-the-scenes studio peeks, and occasional humor, never personal drama or lifestyle extravagance. In a 2017 60 Minutes interview, when asked to delve into his private world, he instead steered the entire conversation back to craft, emphasizing his devotion. "I was built for this. It's dedicating yourself to your craft. Spending thousands of hours in a studio learning how to write a song. To get better and better." This interview captured Mars at his most authentic, someone who insists artistry, not fame, should define his public persona. Mars has explicitly chosen not to give in to celebrity culture's pressure to be always on. During interviews, he often pivots back to music whenever the subject veers toward personal life or tabloid fodder. On social media, Mars's restraint is deliberate. His feeds are polished and professional, polished studio snapshots, glittering stage footage, and announcements of new songs or residencies. Personal posts, like a quip about paying pretend debt, rarely appear and are carefully framed in humor. He once remarked to Rolling Stone, "You're never going to see me Instagramming at a party. I don't take my phone." A fundamental element of this approach is Mars's long-term relationship with model actress Jessica Caban, which has largely stayed out of the spotlight. They first met in 2011 at a restaurant in a Lower East Side hotel in New York City, a chance encounter captured by author Emily Herbert, who notes Mars approached Caban before chatting and sparked a romance that would endure for over a decade. Caban, originally from Harlem, relocated to Los Angeles in 2012 to support both her own career and their relationship. Despite this longevity, public glimpses of their relationship are rare. They appeared together at the Grammy Awards in 2014, 2016, and 2018. In each instance, Mars chose gratitude over grand declarations. During his emotional sixth Grammy win in 2018, he said, "My lady, Jessica, I love you, baby. Thank you for being my rock and being by my side throughout this whole process." Their bond has occasionally inspired notable songs. In a May 2013 Rolling Stone cover story, Mars revealed that his piano ballad, "When I Was Your Man," was inspired by Jessica during a moment of relationship strain. Describing the song as "too close to home," he refused to elaborate further. In another 2016 Rolling Stone interview, when asked if they would marry, he responded with a chuckle, "Jesus. She's my best friend. My rock. What's wrong with that? We're just happy." The couple has also lived quietly together. After officially moving in around 2012, possibly into his Hollywood Hills home, they maintained a stable life together. Known to have a Rottweiler named Geronimo, they chose to preserve the sensory details of their relationship within their private circle. The only publicized personal gesture after that was Caban's modest social media celebration of their first trip together, shared in October 2022. Throughout the decade, Bruno and Jessica remained committed yet invisible. Even amid speculation in early 2024 that their relationship was on the rocks, following her deletion of photographs from her Instagram and reports that they were living separately during the holidays, neither Mars nor Caban offered confirmation or comment. The only public acknowledgement came months later when, in January 2025, Caban commented on Instagram that she would always celebrate and be happy for all of his continued achievements. Cheering from afar. Today, the status of their relationship remains uncertain. However, the duo's silence continues to speak volumes. A relationship that spanned more than a decade, lived largely off-camera, and ended with decorum befitting Mars's greater ethos. If it has indeed concluded, it did so not through tabloid spectacle, but through quiet transition. But wait, there's more. Bruno Mars has finally confirmed the rumors. In late 2023, the entertainment world was stirred by a wave of speculation surrounding Bruno Mars and a rumored $50 million gambling debt allegedly owed to MGM Resorts. The story gained traction in part due to Mars's long-standing ties to Las Vegas and his history of high-stakes performances at venues like the Park MGM's Dolby Live Theater. The sudden buzz coincided with a noticeable digital silence from both Mars and MGM, as fans noted that the singer had removed several posts across his social media platforms, while MGM made no immediate clarifications. By early 2024, the rumor had become a persistent presence in discussions surrounding Mars's career. Some sources irresponsibly cited unnamed insiders and alleged that Mars had developed a gambling habit during his extended Las Vegas residencies. These stories were further fueled by his lucrative partnership with MGM Resorts, originally signed in 2016, which was reported to involve a revenue-sharing model for performances, merchandise, and endorsements. Critics used this as a basis to suggest the deal masked a deeper financial entanglement. However, no reputable financial records or legal documentation ever surfaced to support the claims of indebtedness. MGM Resorts International eventually addressed the controversy in a formal statement released in March 2024, firmly denying that Bruno Mars owed them any money. The statement emphasized that the artist remained a valued partner and that rumors of a $50 million debt were completely unfounded and categorically false. While this quelled some speculation, many fans still questioned the initial silence and timing of the rebuttal. Bruno Mars, known for his charisma and wit, eventually broke his silence in the most Bruno Mars way possible, through humor. In April 2024, he took to Twitter with a series of posts that played along with the rumors in a tongue-in-cheek fashion. One tweet read, "I just gambled away my last pineapple shirt. Someone send help." Another joked, "Working 3 jobs, singer, dancer, and apparently now, casino janitor." These sarcastic remarks were widely shared and celebrated by fans as evidence of Mars's refusal to let scandal culture dictate his public image. The narrative took another humorous turn in January 2025 when Mars hit a major career milestone, surpassing 150 million monthly listeners on Spotify. To mark the occasion, he posted a celebratory message on Instagram that again referenced the debt speculation, captioning a slick studio photo with, "At this rate, I'll be out of debt in no time." The post garnered millions of likes and thousands of comments, proving that his audience appreciated his candor and comedic approach. Rather than being weakened by the controversy, Mars had successfully turned it into a comedic subplot of his public journey. Meanwhile, Bruno Mars remained artistically relevant, pushing boundaries in both production and collaboration. In early 2025, news broke that he was working on a new studio album, his first since 2021's An Evening with Silk Sonic in collaboration with Anderson .Paak. Though details of the new project remain under wraps, insiders suggest it continues his trend of blending retro soul, funk, and modern pop influences, potentially introducing more cross-genre experimentation. Around the same time, Mars began negotiating terms for a world tour projected to run through late 2025 into 2026, a clear indication that his appeal had not been diminished by tabloid noise. Adding to this momentum was a string of successful collaborations. Most notably, his duet with Lady Gaga titled Die With a Smile was released in February 2025 and quickly garnered critical acclaim. The song, a lush power ballad with dramatic orchestration and soaring vocals, was nominated for Record of the Year at the 67th Annual Grammy Awards. Simultaneously, he surprised audiences with a feature on Fat Juicy and Wet, a bold, bass-heavy hip-hop single by rising star Sexy Red. While the track's explicit nature raised eyebrows, fans praised Mars for his genre flexibility and willingness to work outside his usual stylistic boundaries. Mars's Las Vegas residency, always a significant part of his live performance brand, resumed with new dates announced from May 21 to June 2, 2025, at the Dolby Live Theatre. Tickets sold out within hours, underscoring the public's enduring enthusiasm for his stage presence and musical craftsmanship. What has become increasingly evident is Bruno Mars's unparalleled ability to navigate public scrutiny while preserving his mystique. He masterfully walks the line between being relatable and remaining elusive. While fans feel they know him thanks to his candid humor and emotive songwriting, Mars rarely offers full access into his private world, avoiding overexposure in an age where celebrities often live online. As the world awaits his next moves, the enduring connection between Bruno Mars and his audience remains unshaken. In a cultural climate often dominated by scandal and cynicism, his mix of showmanship, sincerity, and sharp wit offers a refreshing contrast. For now, fans are encouraged to celebrate his milestones, stream his music, and, as he playfully suggests, like, comment with your favorite Bruno song, and subscribe, because Bruno Mars isn't going anywhere. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now, it's truly unbelievable.